So what advice would you give to somebody with a great idea who wants to start a business?
I think that the most important thing is starting. Sometimes we wait too long because we want to perfect the idea. And perfection takes some time. So essentially you'll be hoarding an idea, sitting on the great idea, and then somebody else starts the idea, and then you're upset. And then you go on and on about how you had this great idea, but it never came to fruition. So basically start, learn along, make your mistakes, perfect the craft, own the journey basically.
So jump in the deep end and start swimming.
You're not going to drown.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
Exactly. So one of the things I've heard most often is, if somebody offers you an activity, say yes and figure out how to do it later. So you don't need to know what to do. I don't think that all the great people who started businesses knew how it was going to turn out. It's that leap of faith. Just jump. You never know, you might just fly, you might soar, and the next thing you know, you're further away from the ground that you ever
But even if you don't succeed at the first instance,
yes,
there's always that inbuilt self-confidence
yes,
that you as a person have.
yes,
Knowing that I did this and quote-unquote I failed,
yes.
But then you can take your lessons.
Yes.
From
and I'm actually glad that you've mentioned failure, because we don't talk about failure enough.
Everyone is showing the highlights reel.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Everyone's assuming that it's easy to get things done. It's okay to fail. I've started a number of businesses that it didn't happen. It didn't work. Some of them even just ended at registration. So the business was registered. It never got off the ground. But it's okay to fail. There's nothing wrong with toying with an idea and not being able to succeed at it. And it could also mean that that's not for you. But yeah, I think that narrative of always being successful and being great at what you do, it's not always the case. So I'd rather fail so many times now and then figure out a perfect way to continue or own the journey, at a future date.
That's important, because what people only see
yes.
is the finished product.
Exactly.
They don't see all the sleepless nights
yes.
that go into
yes.
Something, all the self-doubts, all the
yes.
impersonations, all the things that you need to surmount to be able to get to that stage where you believe that
yes.
this idea has turned into a reality and it's here to stay.
And I think, like I mentioned on the outset, it took me 3 years to finally put my foot down and say, look, okay, we're going to do it. And you can always toy with an idea for so long, but it doesn't become reality until you've decided to make it happen.
To take that first step, the bold
yes.
step. Yeah.
And it's very important, because you see, that first step defines a lot of things for you, not only for your business, but for you as an individual. It helps you to see what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. So your SWOT analysis is not only on the business, it's on you as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of introspection
yes.
that goes into
exactly.
Everything that you do.
Yes.
Because even in my circles,
yes.
I'm in quote unquote, I'm in a few boardrooms
yes.
each and every day.
Yes.
And I see that introspection happens. I see
yes.
character traits coming up. Different
yes.
people with different backgrounds.
Absolutely.
All come together to make an idea happen. So that brings me on to my next question, which would be, what character trait or personality trait would you say stand out most for you from watching the vendors come onto Accra Goods Market? From those who make it past Accra Goods Market, like you said, and become a physical entity or become a sustainable business. What personality trait stands out most for you? In your opinion, I'm not going to hold you to it. It's just that
resilience.
Resilience.
And I say resilience because you not always have a good day at the market. Your very first experience could be very poor. Not because people didn't attend the market, not because people did not find you at the venue. But a number of factors come into play, and I always say this to traders who come to the market. How do you present your business? So for example, you're the business owner. You know the ins and outs of your business. But then you send a shop person to come and sit at your stand. The shop person's natural instinct is to just sit down and wait for people to approach the store. If that doesn't happen, it means that you're not going to sell. But imagine if you're the business owner and you're behind your store. Imagine the enthusiasm you bring. Imagine the product knowledge that you bring. That comes to bearing on how much sales you will make. And so the experience for you would differ based on how you approach each market.
So another thing, I'm taking a mental note of what you're
Yes.
saying, because I'm also learning
Yes.
as we go along. And you're dropping gems. as the millennials would say, you're
Yes.
dropping gems.
Yes.
So one gem I've also gleaned is that
Yes.
to go out and make stuff happen.
Yes.
Instead of, playing by the rules, for example.
Yes. And I think, look, sometimes we're also too quick to delegate.
Yes, that is true.
I mean, you've literally just started a business, right? Who's the biggest asset of a business? That's you. You're the person that people will buy into. So if you're so quick to delegate your responsibility as a business owner to somebody that you hire, how will people interact with the brand? How will they know what your vision for the brand is? How will they buy into the personality behind the brand?
So what's more important in your opinion again? We've seen a lot of businesses now branch into personal branding
Yes.
instead of business branding.
Yes.
I mean, back when I was growing up, it was all about the business's brand,
Yes.
not the owner's persona.
Yes.
Case study, Elon Musk,
Yes.
Tesla.
Yes.
Tesla is synonymous with Elon Musk because
Yes.
of his personality.
Absolutely.
Apple wasn't synonymous with Steve Jobs till the 2000s.
Yes.
So you see that shift and segue into personal brand. For you, what should a person who started a business focus on? Personal branding or business branding?
I think it's a bit of both.
A fine balance.
A fine balance. But you see-
How did you do it?
Okay, so for example, I mean, a lot of people don't know that I run the markets. If you're not a trader or a vendor at the market and you interact with me, you wouldn't know that I run
So
the
you
market.
didn't go the personal branding
No.
route.
Because you see, the kind of business that I run, I wanted to run a business that stood on its own feet. I didn't want a situation where people were attending because I was the one that was running the market.
So it boils down to the nature of your business.
Exactly, and it's also particularly how you want to run the business. Do you want to be
what life you want
exactly?
to live?
Do you want to be the face of a business such that when you're no longer there, the business does not continue? Or do you want the business to run its own course? And for people to be pleasantly surprised when they find out that you're the one behind the market? So in my situation, that's what I wanted. I didn't want the market to be so associated with me such that if I delegated responsibilities, it suddenly affected how people perceive the market. And I think that's also very important. How do you get the business to thrive on its own? Because the problem with being too personal with the business is that you become the driving force. And once you lose your momentum, the business suffers as well. But have that autonomous route.
And again, we see that with, for example, Elon Musk.
Yes.
Anytime he goes on a Twitter storm,
Yes.
shares of Tesla
It takes
drop.
a dip, exactly.
It takes a dip. He's been
Exactly.
fined by the SEC.
Exactly.
Shares take a dip. Even
Exactly.
with cryptocurrency now.
Yes. And even when he expresses his personal opinion on a subject, it invariably affects other
But
things.
it could have good results.
It could.
For example, one thing you're taught in company law 101 is
Yes.
a business is an inanimate entity.
Yes.
So it has a persona of its own.
Yes.
So you as a business owner, you also need to figure out what kind of personality you want for your business.
Yes.
Do you want your business to be a chatterbox?
Yes.
Do you want your business to be friendly?
Yes.
What kind of image and persona goes into that business?
Yes. And you see, and you're perfectly right on that. But you see, you can still channel the business persona without necessarily being at the forefront of the business. And I think that's where you're able to create that fine balance. So you're still able to replicate who you are as a business owner in the business process without necessarily having to be physically present in the business.
That's true.
And I think that's been key for me. Sometimes I always wonder what would have happened if I started the market and everybody knew that I was the one running the market.
That's key for everybody else.
Yes.
Because I read a lot of books and sometimes I memorize quotes, but
Yes.
I can't attribute who quoted this and who didn't quote that.
Yeah.
But one thing that stood out for me, even in the shaping of my advisory business
Yes.
is I read a quote one time that said that you're not an entrepreneur if your business cannot run without you.
Exactly.
You need to have systems in place. You need to delegate, but you need to delegate responsibly. So on my last show, and this is a question I want to ask everybody as well.
Okay.
What do you think is more important in building a business or doing anything entrepreneurial? Passion, hard work, or talent?
Can I cheat? What did your previous guest say?
No.
I want the easy way out.
We want to know what you think. I want to know what you think as well.
No, I mean, I think that passion supersedes everything. I mean, that's what makes you wake up in the morning. That's what makes you want to keep going. Again, it brings you back to resilience. I've mentioned that previously. So if you're passionate, you're resilient. What that means is that you keep going until you succeed. So I think that passion supersedes. But then again, passion is sort of tied with hard work and talent, because that grit is what refines your skill.
They're all tied, but they're
Yes.
also distinct as well.
Yes.
For example, passion could be a weakness. If you're passionate about something, it means you're not detached. So you can't think clearly.
Yes.
And being in business, you need to make objective decisions.
Yes.
Sometimes you also need to be very ruthless.
Yes.
If you're passionate about something or someone,
Yes.
it's hard to make objective decisions.
Yes.
Hard work is good, but it can also be a weakness. That's
Yes.
what causes burnout.
Yes.
Talent is good, but if talent doesn't work hard or isn't as passionate, it also fizzles out. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to learn what is the key ingredient.
I think that the passion in fine measure. So one of the things I've also come to accept is you need to know when something is not working. So just because you're passionate about it doesn't mean that if you're putting water in a bottomless pit, you just keep pouring because you've got the energy and the drive to keep pouring. You need to know when to stop. Again, as an individual, it stems from knowing what your goals are. And it's very important for us to set goals as well. Have the short-term goal, have the long-term goal. If you've got goals and you've set them within the right parameters, the passion would help you to determine whether it's worth it or not. When do you stop? When do you give up? You know, and giving up doesn't necessarily mean the idea failed. It means that the time was not right, and you can come back to it at another time. You know, a lot of conditions determine whether a business will thrive or not. You know, so all of that comes into play.
So what's next for Accra Goods Market? Seeing that the pandemic put aggregating of crowds on a hold,
Yes.
couldn't have physical interaction. Wait, before you answer that, this
Yes.
is also a question that I want to know. What was your experience with the pandemic and during lockdown time?
I think for me,
Personal experience. We're not talking business.
yes, I think for me it was a good time to pause. I mean, I haven't had a break since we started running the market. We've literally
But the
been
market is not all you do.
well, but you know that the market is very intensive, and I think we don't talk about that often. So this requires you setting out to recruit vendors, setting up on the day, making sure everything's running smoothly. After the event, you need to coordinate a few things as well. So it's quite intensive, and it physically drains me.
Back to
Yes.
what you learned
Yes.
on lockdown. You're very
Yes. So, yes. So obviously you were asking what that meant for me. So that meant that I now had time to relax a bit. So I didn't have to be waking up to think of how we're setting up a market, how we're making all of that happen. But I think that also just opened up another conversation about venturing into the e-commerce space. You know, like I said, we've toyed with it a few times. But then in the pandemic, I realized that, look, it's good to have that online space so that if for any reason you cannot be offline, you would still be able to maintain trading online. So that's phase 2 for me. How do I get online? How do we become an ASOS? How do we become an Amazon? How do we become an eBay?
Yeah, so you're not delving into how to have, although you've had digital presence.
Yes.
You want to have more of a digital identity.
Exactly.
And that will be in view of the times that we're in.
Yes.
Because most people are even venturing off
Yes.
physical meetings.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
so to everything. So you want to have
Yes.
more of a digital presence
Exactly.
online.
And I want that tied in with a payment solution as well. So a payment partner that makes it possible for you to be able to transact end to end. So I go online, I find a product that I like, I pay for it.
Wait, if this thing ever becomes a thing, can I invest?
No, absolutely, because and that's the beauty of having these conversations, because then you never know who might be the next person you partner with.
Yeah, so this is my investment pitch.
Are you literally pitching? You're pitching live on set. Like, how does that even happen? I don't think this has ever happened anywhere. Like, Oprah's interviewing someone and then Oprah pitches.
Well,
ridiculous. Focus.
So the reason why I started this YouTube channel,
sure,
just for it to be a resource for other people.
Yes.
For example, before venturing out of business on my own, I had a bunch of questions and nobody really to ask.
Yes.
So I had to learn everything the hard way. So I want to save people the trouble of learning it the hard way.
Yeah.
That's why I have different people from all walks of life and different businesses coming on here to share their experience on building businesses.
Yes.
And the amount of work it literally takes to climb each and every day.
Yes.
That's even why I call this channel Foro. Because that's the African translation for climb. It's a climb each and every day to be able to get to the peak of success.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yes, that is a super interesting way to look at it. So, coming off that, I mean, you have a formal education.
Yes.
What do you see the value of education in businesses? There's this school of thought that says that you really don't need an MBA, those are overpriced. All you need is, capital and the hard lessons that come with business. So what do you think is the place for formal education? For example, Steve Jobs, dropped out of school. Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of school. There have been successful businesses and business owners who have a formal education background. They end up dropping out.
Yeah.
But you completed a formal education.
Yeah.
Times are changing. What do you think about formal education and successful businesses?
I think it depends on what market you're in. Because if you're don't forget that all these names who dropped out are in a super effective and a super efficient economy. All of them are like think about
a third world country.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. And if you look at those in the third world country who dropped out, look at how long it took for them to achieve the same level of success that these ones achieved in 3 or 4 years. So my take is you may not necessarily need to have an MBA, but at least have some form of structured formal education, because what that gives you is an open mind. And that's the one thing I learned from being in school. It gives you an open mind. It helps you to explore. It helps you to see life in different shapes and sizes. So don't and it doesn't even have to be at a specific time in your life. It could be you could be 50 and still take that executive course. You could take that online class.
So apart from Accra Goods Market, do you mind telling us about your other? Yeah.
So like I mentioned, so I work in advertising. I lead a team of
advertising as what exactly? Because that's a broad field.
Yeah, so I mean, the company that I work for does full 360 advertising. So essentially from media, social media management, to creative design, all the way to what's the last one? Production. Mm-hmm. So literally 4 different areas. So anything from a TV commercial to a radio jingle to a social media post to a press ad, we do all of that. And what's that? I mean, that literally is helped define who I am as a person. And I think that experience plays a big role in the way I roll out the market. So I think that my background as well. I mean, what I do outside of a market also helps me to position the market.
Can we expect a physical market?
Yeah, so in the next in August.
In August.
There's a holiday coming up. So August 4th, we'll have a market at the Enclave Garden in East Legon. Starts at 10 through to about 6.
What measures do you put in so that your event doesn't become a super spreader?
Oh yeah, so I mean, we've had one event in the COVID space. So essentially, we have like a team that's at the entrance, ensuring that everyone's in their mask. We sanitize, we check temperatures. Masks are worn throughout the entire period that you're at the market. We send out COVID protocols for traders and for shoppers as well. So we're quite. I personally am very big on that. And it's also one of the reasons why we stopped running the markets, because other events were taking place, but I wasn't keen on running the market when I wasn't sure how we were going to prevent a super spreading situation. So that's very big for us. We don't want to be that terrible brand.
Well, this is a topic far away from business,
yes.
but I feel it contributes to success. You recently became a father.
Yes.
So,
yes.
What experiences has fatherhood taught you?
So I've heard so many stories, but then everyone has their own personal experience, and so I mean, what I felt will probably not be what anybody else felt, but it literally helped me to appreciate life in a different way. So I've been that person I'm very carefree, very, very spontaneous. I just live life, take it day at a time. But now I've become more structured. So now I think about investments, and I think about my child's education, and I think about what's going to happen to him in 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I used to think about. I just used to wake up and do whatever.
Because, so you've shifted from an individual perspective.
Exactly.
Being...
I think I've become more responsible.
Yes, being responsible.
I'm responsible for a human being. It's the most ridiculous thing. Like, I'm responsible for a whole human being.
I remember I saw this tweet one time.
Yeah.
That said that there was this lady who was like, when I go to parties, people are approaching and like, "Auntie, can you serve me jollof?" And then she looks to the left to find out who the auntie is. And she realizes that she's the auntie that they're referring to.
Yeah. But it's a brilliant feeling. I think that anyone who has that privilege would cherish it. It's absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see what my son becomes. Whether he's going to take up this market or whether he's going to do what all kids do, ignore the family business and do something else. But it's an amazing feeling. It can be overwhelming at times because your pattern changes, your life changes. But it's a joy to take care of a little munchkin, see him growing. And he's gone past 1. So now he's biting and scratching and I'm like, look, can you respect yourself and stay in your space, But it's amazing.
Congratulations on
Thank
being
you.
that.
I'm expecting you to hand me like a bottle of Jameson Black Barrel or something.
We can do that after the show. I'm more of a whiskey person.
Yeah, Jameson whiskey.
Yeah, but I like single malt. I'm more of the refined gentleman type. I hope, look around you. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's been amazing.
It has. It's been an experience learning so much from you and Accra Goods Market. I think the last Accra Goods Market I was at was
Octagon.
Yes, that was it a year ago? Or
yes, in November last year.
In November last year.
Yes. A COVID one actually.
Yes, that was the last Accra Goods Market.
Yes.
I like it. It's a wonderful experience. I would encourage anybody who has, especially those in the hospitality industry, to participate in the market because it gives you an avenue to learn customer experience, customer success, customer relations, how you work under pressure. Do you fold? Do you crumble? Do you rise up to the pressure? Because I've seen crowds literally gather at one table, all screaming, "I want this, I want that, I want that." And some people don't take the pressure too friendly. So, I would encourage anybody to go. And it's just a nice experience. It gives you a change outside the normal weekend routine in Ghana. That's going out.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle, going out to eat. There's a different change. And you never know. I might be chefing it up in one of the markets.
You should.
I have many talents.
I know that. So don't let it go to waste. Come
No, I wouldn't go to waste. Those in my close circle know of these talents.
So I'm not in your close circle.
No, not at all. You're just a stranger that I admire from afar.
So shame.
Thanks for coming. And
pleasure.